Hi, my name's Rob Schreiber, and I'm going to talk about how I ended up in MSDF and give you a little foreground. How many states in the U.S. allow a lie detector tests in a court? Anybody know?
No.
Zero.
Zero. But the state of Wisconsin uses it to put people in MSDF.
Yes, they
Yep,
do.
you sure
Every
do.
day of the week. And there's this thing when you're scheduled for a lie detector test, they tell you, well, if you don't, behave, we're going to put you on top of the list. So they use this fear basis just preparing for it. Then they give you a date for a test, and they say you're going to have your test the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and like 2 weeks ahead of time. So you're in this tremendous state of stress, unmeasurable stress, going up to the time that you go in to take the lie detector test. Now, I've taken 3 of them, and I passed all 3 of them, but they didn't like my answers for the last one, so they sent me to MSDF. Now, if you're taking a test and you wiggle your foot or blink your eye or yawn, you failed the test. You will be sent back to prison. You don't even have to say anything and you fail the test. If you refuse to take the test and pay for the test, they send you back to prison. If you're on a state sentence, sometimes you have to serve the entire state sentence. So everything is based on fear. The Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, there is no rehabilitation in the Department of Corrections in the state of Wisconsin. Everything is based on fear. Now there's some changes happening, but for the most part there aren't. When I took this test, it was on a Tuesday, and it was in November, and it was snowing, and I had my truck parked on the lot, and I passed it, and my PO told me I passed it, but she said, bro, hold on a minute, I'm talking to my supervisor. And they talked to the supervisor, and I said, well, we're gonna put you in MSDF for the weekend. And she did not have to call Wendell Rushkow from Project Return, but she did call him to let him know where I was. She was not required to tell him that. She wasn't required to tell anybody anything. So literally, I would have just disappeared. I would have lost my apartment. I did lose my job. That meant I would have to start completely over again when I got back, meaning I'd have to have money for a deposit on an apartment, for a phone, which is a requirement, to pay your insurance. You'd have to pay all that. If you don't pay all those things and do all those things, you're in violation of your probation. So it's set up that if you mess up, you automatically fail on 5 or 6 other counts, and they use that against you. Somebody mentioned about the food and things. When I got out, I actually spent Thanksgiving and Christmas in there. But when I got out, I went to a Project Return, and I had been clean shaven before I went in. And I didn't shave when I was in there, and I came out, and nobody knew who I was because I had lost 60 pounds in 6 weeks. I mean, I ate all my meals, but I lost weight, and there was nothing to do. I tried to read books, and when the PO came to visit me, she told me she didn't want me reading the books because there might be suggestive stories in them. So when I was in Milwaukee County, I read a book every day. I tried to do something to be productive, and it was very difficult. Anytime you try to do anything, for some reason they hold it against you. And MSDF, we have resources to have all kinds of programs in the state of Wisconsin. Every person that's in the judicial system could have a college degree, a high school degree, a college degree, and it wouldn't cost a nickel more because all they have to do is take the money that they're wasting in this facility and redirect it into a positive, productive, supportive program. There are programs that exist that work around the country, and we need to do something to try to get those programs to work here in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin. And the stories you get to hear from people, the word story is very powerful because these are all true stories. And I want to share this one other thing with you, and I'm not trying to gross you out, but if you're taking a test and someone says, did you get on a bus with kids? Has anybody ever ridden a bus in Milwaukee that didn't have kids on it? Did you use a public restroom? Did you use a urinal, or did you go into a stall and close the door? Did you get in line at a grocery store behind a mother with a child? Did you stand on a street corner waiting at a bus stop? In West Allis, a bus stop is considered a park, and you can't be in a park. I mean, there are all these little ordinances. So those are the kind of questions that they ask you. Did you masturbate? Did you think about sex with a partner from the past or the future? these are the questions that they ask you, and you have to answer them. They're very personal, obviously, and they're very demeaning and dementing at the same time, but you have to answer them. If you refuse to answer them, they'll send you away. And I don't mean to pick on a friend of mine, but he's right here, and Troy was in SOT treatment, which is sex offender treatment, and he did get sent away. And other people in our group, they didn't answer the question the facilitator asked of them. The facilitator could pick up the phone, call the sheriff's department, and a deputy would come and physically remove the person from treatment.
Yep, that's what they do.
So the facilitator of the treatment has the power to send people back to prison. They didn't do anything wrong. That's my story. Thank you for listening.